Oops. Make sure we're live. Okay. Turn that down. Welcome to the Wrestling Pod. I'm your host, Carlito Santiago. Of course, Lewis isn't here, but it's okay because we are doing this. Yep, we are doing this alone. So, Friday Night SmackDown was yesterday on the USA, and boy, were there some creative changes, and we're going to get into them. So, of course, this week's show was thrown into chaos before it even started because the final boss, no, not Samoa Joe from Yakuza, or Yakuzona, no, but the final boss, The Rock, yes, the big corporate boss, returned with an announcement a day before the show, shocking fans who would have expected this next appearance to be on Monday Night Raw. Of course, a lot of things got changed. Of course, some advertised and others just thrown to the side. So, what can I tell you about SmackDown? Well, I can tell you what I saw. And what I saw is clips. So, Nick Aldis, we kicked off the show with Nick Aldis showing, it was Nick Aldis shown telling Rhodes he will not be competing in the six-man tag team match tonight due to orders from the final boss. When he went to the arena, or when we got to the arena, McIntyre went out of his, made his way out for his match against Jimmy Uso. Jimmy Uso seemed to take the lead early and even score a quick 2 count with a crossbody from the top rope. But the Scottish Psychopath tossed him across the ring with a belly-to-belly suplex to turn the tide. You see, Big Jimmy began to make a comeback during the break. But we didn't really begin building any momentum until the show was back from the commercial for a bit. If we count building fucking momentum for superstars. To understand how we build momentum for superstars, especially heading into a pay-per-view or just heading into a big time feud, I've stressed it before and I'll stress it again. The way WWE works in momentum building is the positives and the negatives. So, how do you gain momentum? Everything positive. You win a match. You cut a promo. You do a good interview or have a good segment. That's how you build momentum for yourself. That's how you gain it. Now, how do you lose momentum? The same exact way that I just said, but negative. You lose a match. You cut a bad promo. You have a bad segment, or you do a bad interview. That's how it works. And if you don't believe me, go back in time, go back in history, go look up different people. Now, again, under Vince McMahon, it's going to be entirely different because you know how old and senile that motherfucker is. But we're not here to talk about him. We're here to talk about the now. So, Jimmy ended up scoring the victory, the upset victory, when he turned a reversed Alabama slam into a victory roll for a 1-2-3. McIntyre continued to attack him after the bell, was going to put his head near the ring post, and he was about to Claymore kick him. But officials and referees stopped him. McIntyre was able to get loose of that, and he was able to break free and get in the ring and hit a Claymore to solidify it. So, yes, this match had a couple of fun moments, but as a whole, it was not going to be remembered by the time the show was over. The post-match attack was far more memorable than anything that happened between the bells. So, graded a B. And honestly, this is going to get knocked down to a B-. Why is Jimmy Uso getting a victory here? Why isn't McIntyre? He's in the Elimination Chamber. I think McIntyre getting a victory and building ahead of momentum, especially if you're considering that McIntyre is going after the Bloodline for those fucking losses that he had to take. That sucks. Right? That shit sucks. So, I don't know. I don't know. I don't understand that. But there's a lot of other shit that we're not going to understand. Another one, of course, something hilarious enough to happen is, of course, a tag team match between the team of The Miz and Carmelo Hayes taking on R-Truth and, surprisingly, L.A. Knight. Carmelo Hayes and The Miz had a funny segment backstage with R-Truth before they came out for a tag team match. Truth's surprise partner was L.A. Knight. Yeah, but Truth thought the L.A. stood for Louisiana. This is how you know that Road Dogg is in charge of writing the show. He loves Road Dogg. He loves Ron Killing. Probably the greatest, if you want comedy wrestling, this is where you go. You go to Road Dogg. Truth and Mello began for their teams. Hayes immediately hits a springboard clothesline, but he celebrated too much and paid for it. Knight was eventually tagged in after the break and took it to both opponents as the crowd began to build some excitement. Much of what we saw here was designed for comedy, but they had a couple of good spots sprinkled in throughout the match. This may be the beginning of a new tag team for Mello and Miz, or it could just be filler because before one turns on the other. Shinsuke Nakamura interfered to attack LA Knight to keep setting up that program, which allowed Mello and The Miz to hit Miz skull-crushing finale on top of Carmelo Hayes' little code breaker. With their combined finishes, they were able to score the victory. So the heels win in this match, graded a B-. And listen, if this is the comedy wrestling you do like, I honestly do admit, go watch it. It's pretty interesting tag team match. At one point, Truth counted down Mello with nobody on top of him to make him kick out for no reason was hilarious. It got me laughing. People have already said, like, yo, John Cena is pinning him. They're already making memes. Plus, this is an interesting one, considering that we will get more information there in a bit. There was a good video package for Zelina Vega before this match, so keep an eye on that. This tag team match is pretty good. I like the idea of setting up Miz and Mello, but if it's just filler, it's just filler. For the time being, R-Truth is fucking hilarious. LA Knight was handed a pull boy at the same time he was coming out and gave him the beads. So, yeah. What came next was something less interesting. Tiffany Stratton came out, talked some trash to all of her opponents all the way around, including the woman who challenges her for WrestleMania, which is Charlotte Flair. Woo! Till she was interrupted by Nia Jax and Candice LeRae. They talked some smack before the match, and Tiffy and LeRae began during the break. It took all of 30 seconds after the break for Charlotte to show up to watch. So the Queen joined commentary and watched as the champion took out Nia Jax and LeRae with a moonsault from the top rope. The match lasted through a second break into the next segment, so they had a long time to make this fight feel competitive. And it wasn't as fast-paced as it could have been in place, and there were a couple of sloppy moments. But there was more good than bad to this. As the match was over, though, she was about to hit her finisher, Nia Jax. They kind of messed up here, but anyway, Nia Jax was about to hit her finisher until Trish Stratus ran down to make the save. Sadly, Trish ended up on the receiving end, as of course she was taken out by Jax as she hit the Annihilator on both of them, stacking Stratton on top of Tiffany and then sitting on Stratton's face, only to move her ass a little bit to the chest so it didn't look awkward. Plus, Tiffy's Alabama Slam into the barricade did not go as planned. So, a lot of sloppy moments, and this is what's graded a C, and I agree. I'm going to give it a C. And then as for that tag team match, it's going to stay a B-, just because it's perfect that way. But now we get to this segment, which was supposed to be a match. A match between Naomi and Liv Morgan never happened because Morgan and Raquel were hiding under the ring and took out Bianca Belair and Naomi before it could even get started. And this was all because of this cheesy, bald-headed motherfucker. Love you, Rocky. This was all because of him making his goddamn announcement that, ladies and gentlemen, to first now announce, WrestleMania 42 will be live in New Orleans for the third fucking time within the last 15 years. WrestleMania 30 and WrestleMania 34 took place in Louisiana, and they took place in the Caesar Superdome. Or is it Silverdome? I'm probably getting confused like Hulk Hogan did. But it's probably it's the Caesar's it's the Caesar's place. He came out to a New Orleans themed entrance and talked about bring WrestleMania back to NOLA, which is, he invited Rhodes to the ring, and they spoke for a very long time about Rocky wanting Rhodes to be his champion. Or rather, he wanted him to be a corporate sellout. Basically, a corporate sellout champion. Right? Kind of like how Rocky was back in the day. I think this is when Rock and Vince McMahon and Shane McMahon, right? All being those kind of little corporate champion, by selling his soul. So this segment was so weird because Rock kept wavering between a heel and a babyface, and the crowd didn't know whether to boo or cheer for him by the time it was over. This was a confusing segment, not because of what anyone said. It was confusing because it didn't really accomplish anything and left us with more questions than answers. Sometimes that is good, but this felt less like a cliffhanger and more like WWE not knowing what they want to do yet. And this is subtly true. So we can now add to this pay-per-view of Rock wants an answer out of Rhodes. So Rhodes, Rock segment in Toronto at the Elimination Chamber. Rock wants Cody Rhodes to give him an answer about whether he's going to be this corporate champion by selling his soul or not. Just know what happens. So, of course, I'm going to grade this to C, and it's going to stick by the C. I don't know what else is to come of it, but hey, you know what? Fuck this. Next up, what I've been saying, and I've stressed it before, you can even go check out the other streams. You can go check out my SmackDown predictions video with Lewis on what I think is going to happen with DIY and the tag team titles, because this was a tag team title match. I don't know why they didn't stress that, but here's the photo it is. As Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa gave a promo about why they would defeat Kit Wilson and Elton Prince in their tag team title match tonight. Pretty Deadly came out and went after the champions as their music continued to play. Once the bell rang, everything got started. DIY took control to send us right into a break. Don't you love fucking commercials? Because I don't. Pretty Deadly began to make a comeback after the break and hit several impressive double team moves. They used their size and power advantage as much as possible, but it didn't matter in the end because Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins, the Street Profits, interfered and took out Pretty Deadly to cause a DQ. Once they were done with Wilson and Prince, they took down DIY. The match didn't have enough TV time due to the break and also the promo. The DQ ending was the least ideal way to do it. The action looked good, but everything else made it feel pointless. What WWE should have done with this is Pretty Deadly should have came close. DIY should have picked up the cheap victory, like a little tug of the tights or little, kind of helping out each other, little quick 1, 2, 3 there, and then have the Profits go after, this shit. This apparently no contest shit is why SmackDown feels so average, as you could say. The Motor City Machine Guns would come out and help, but the Profits shut them down too. So at WrestleMania, we could be looking at one of two things. One, we could be looking at a triple threat tag team match between DIY, the Street Profits, and the Motor City Machine Guns, or we could be looking at Pretty Deadly, DIY, the Street Profits, and Motor City Machine Guns in a fatal 4-way tag team match for the tag team titles at WrestleMania. That would feel a little bit interesting and more valid for this. Even with the DQ ending, this was a good segment to make the Profits look dangerous, and that is what we need to do, because if anybody's going to take those tag team titles off of DIY, I've said it before, they're more vicious and they feel more impactful. Give it to the Street Profits. They're coming for gold. They've been screwed, and this is the anger and the fire you're feeling from this. And more video packages with them in their anger and their, they could be pretty good dominant heels if you look at that. Like if you look at how they're the best heels are the ones that are the best villains in the world of professional wrestling and the world of superheroes are the ones that are justified. All right. Those are the best villains. The ones that feel justified. Okay. and rightfully so. But their actions are very bad. But this week's main event was supposed to be a tag team match, but Rock had to pull Cody Rhodes out of this. So, of course, we settled with Damian Priest and Braun Strowman to take on Solo and Jacob. So the Archer of Infamy and the Street Champion began the fight with an exchange of strikes in the corner. Solo got a little too confident, and Priest made him pay for it. The Monster Among Men, Braun Strowman, made sure to taunt Fatu every chance he could find before they finally got into the ring and clashed. A miscommunication led to Fatu hitting Solo with a super kick, which allowed Damian Priest to throw him outside of the ring, for Strowman to follow up by sending him and Tama Tonga, I guess, into the announce table, while Priest hit the South of Heaven on Solo to get the 1-2-3 victory. This was a hard-hitting match with some of the best action of the night. Strowman and Priest made a good team, but the real integrity is going to come from Fatu and Solo no longer being on the same page, of course, as the Enforcer and Solo Sikoa being their leader, and losing all the fucking time. They continue to lose, and this bloodline whole ordeal should be like fading away. They put it on Solo, and just to fucking get him, push that aside for the real stories. Graded a B, and that's the only grade it can really get. So, as the final word, of course, this Friday Night SmackDown was a prime example, a perfect example of why some fans, like myself, love the WWE and continue to support it, while other fans, like myself, are tired of the same exact crap. It's the repetitiveness that we don't like. We don't like the goddamn repetitiveness. We don't want that shit. The show is hyper polished and runs like a Swiss watch, but all of the production value in the world is not a substitute for good pro wrestling. The way a couple of the matches ended felt a little like lazy booking. Hence, of course, why Road Dogg's in charge. But again, this is where Road Dogg, maybe this happens, maybe that. But hey, what you do for putting him in charge. The Rock segment was not nearly as intriguing as WWE probably expected it to be. The main event tag team match was, of course, the most exciting thing on the show, even though it was kind of short to fill in. But it was the most exciting thing on the show by a wide margin. But if you like WWE's brand of sports entertainment, SmackDown, this whole entire show is maybe something for you. Definitely wouldn't be for me. Now, a few storylines were progressed, but just as many stayed in a holding pattern. As the road to WrestleMania heats up, WWE needs to put its foot on the gas to make the product as interesting as possible if you want fans to buy fucking tickets to WrestleMania in Las Vegas. This whole show is graded a C, and yeah, there's no plus to it. This is just a C, and this is an average show of SmackDown compared to last week. For the Bleacher Report itself, thank you to Doc, Chris Moeller. Thank you for the Bleacher Report, of course, set up here. I loved it. But, of course, guys, we are a full week away from the Elimination Chamber. And I've been looking at this all, entirely. And, oh boy, I don't know what the fuck flickered, but as you can see, the matches here are kind of almost set, are really set. Not only that, but let me just pull this up real quick. Little notes here that I have, of course, if you can see them. The winner will face Cody Rhodes, and the winner will face Rhea Ripley. Of course, all of these women have qualified, so yeah, we have all these women here. But this is who they won to, who they lost to, as you can see. But yeah, my predictions are clear as they're clear. I'm pretty certain I'm confident in all these, in all the winners of this, of course. I think I'm confident in every person who, yeah, I'm pretty confident in my predictions. So I hope that, you guys are ready for, what is it? The 27th. 5:30, 6 o'clock, I will be on here to give you the breakdown prediction of what I think is going to happen in Toronto. Who's going to walk out of Elimination Chamber into WrestleMania to face who, and I have some wild theories, and I got two pathways for the men. There's only one for the women's, there's one for the women's. Honestly, who knows about these two matches? Who knows we're going to get any more from Raw? They might just throw in an Intercontinental Championship match between Penta and Braun Breaker or whatnot, but who knows? As far as I'm concerned, this is what we got. So look out for the predictions video. Look out for next week when I do the SmackDown summary on the SmackDown before the Elimination Chamber, which will be in Toronto. Also, Raw on Monday. And, of course, the review on Tuesday, so look out for that. And as far as I'm concerned, I think we are good here. So next week is a big week because we are on the road to WrestleMania, and we are headed towards the Elimination Chamber in Toronto, and I cannot wait. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next week.